And welcome to P&W Repair. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Andy. Today's project, we have a Zenith carburetor off of a Wisconsin 2-cylinder we will be tearing down and rebuilding on. Stay tuned and we will get after it shortly. We're going to go ahead and start by tearing this thing apart so we can soak everything in some chem dip overnight. Go ahead and take the fuel bowl off first. What should I? Where does a guy want to start? Now, I could have swore I saw some odd-looking freeze plugs in here in my rebuild kit that look similar to this, and yep, I do have those. Looks like that's one of them right there. It's confirmed we have the right size. Sure looks correct to me. All right. Well, that's a start. What do you reckon that is? I'm gonna say 3/8. And I'm wrong. How about an 1132? Something tells me that's probably supposed to be a metric fastener, but 1132, it fits. So we got the nut right behind that. We got a washer. So that's actually a pretty crucial thing right here. There's multiple splines here. Simple enough. Not too worried about that. Clean those flats out a little bit so we don't strip the screw. Luckily, I mean, decades of vibration has loosened it up for us. There's our linkage. From that point, to get our choke plate out, next we're going to go ahead and try to pop those screws loose to retain the plate to the shaft. With any luck, they'll come out. Come on. Well, we got one out. If we can just manage to get this other one out without stripping the head off of it, that'd be terrific. Got it. Now, carburetor work sure does come in handy having magnetic screwdrivers. So that choke shaft will come out, followed by the choke plate. Go ahead at this point then we will pop the bowl loose. Well, that screw wasn't very tight. Oh, surprise, surprise, nor was that one. Sensing a theme here. Probably didn't hurt to pull this thing out and rebuild it anyway with how loose all the fasteners are. They've just rattled apart over the decades. I'm sure this is the first rebuild this thing's had in quite some time. This is actually off of our 70s Case Davis trencher project. It's always a smart idea to try to split a carburetor without destroying the gasket until you're certain that you have the correct gasket or rebuild kit, rather. Now, what's going on with this deal? Can't say I've ever taken one of the Zenith carburetors apart, so there we go. Here is our bowl. There is some junk. There's a big old chunk of rust here. That bottom corner there of the bowl. That could have been causing problems right there. Set that aside for the time being. So we're going to pull our floats off. To do that, we just need to drive the float shaft out. Let me grab a small punch. Well, I may not have a small enough punch on hand. See if we can get it with this one, huh? Well, I do actually. Now that I think about it, I got gunsmithing punches over in the garage if I need to get those. That's not going to drive it out far enough. I'm going to try to go ahead and grab it with some dikes now, pull it up the rest of the way. Beautiful. Floats will come right off. They're still good, but looks like our rebuild kit came with new ones. So I'll probably go ahead and use my new ones rather than reuse old crusty ones. Our gasket can come off at this point, I do believe. We're going to go ahead and pull the needle and seat. Right here is our needle. And I suspect I could have an issue with something that plugged up the seat here. But there's our needle. We get a big screwdriver, and we're going to very carefully pull that seat out. These are typically very, very tight and don't want to come out of their home. So patience on something like this is key. Well, a guy got lucky, and that's actually nice and loose. I do not see anything obstructing the seat, oddly enough. So whatever was causing our running issue made it past the seat. Go ahead and pull the throttle plate off. Not with that size screwdriver. One screw. Beautiful. There's our throttle plate. Go ahead and pull the throttle shaft now. We have new throttle shaft seals. We'll be sure to go ahead and install those too. So I'm going to go ahead and wind our air bleed in and count off how far this thing's wound out, just for reassembly purposes. So we got half turn, one turn even. Okay, that's pretty standard. Typically, a lot of small engines, your base adjustment is a turn off of your stop. There's our air bleed. I mean, I'm not seeing anything real obvious that's sticking out that would have caused the running issue we were having, aside from possibly that chunk of rust that was in the bowl. It's definitely possible that's exactly what it was. I'm gonna have to pull our jet. That's the other spot that it's very likely something's plugged up. Tiny little feller, huh? So it is actually the same size as, what else did I pull off that was an 1132? Oh, the nut for the choke linkage. So that's our emulsion tube. Well, there's nothing plugging it up, at least now. So it will have a little gasket on the base of that. Other thing, our seat does have a little gasket on the base of that. It's all stuff that I neglected to mention, I suppose. And actually, no, that is a lock washer for our carb linkage. Thought maybe that was a gasket. It was not. It is, in fact, a lock washer. Need a little light. Okay, as far as the bowl, that's as far as I'm tearing that down. I guess I could go ahead and pull the throttle shaft seals out of this top end. Go ahead and pull that inlet fitting off, that pipe plug. Let's do that. So on both of those, 7/16. Work smarter, not harder, dummy. There's that pipe plug. We'll go ahead and do our fuel inlet here. Definitely a fair share of crusty rusty in that thing. Okay, that is stripped. So that's the complete disassembly. Well, let's pull this bowl drain too, just so we can get that soaking. And actually, we have this fitting as well. So we got that pipe plug that is a bowl drain. And then this, which I'm not entirely sure at the moment what it is, but it appears to be a 1/2 inch head size on it. And 1/2 inch is what it is. It does have a gasket on it. Okay, so that, back up in here, there is a, I mean, what would, for lack of a better term and not knowing what you would call it, it appears to be a jet. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that. Well, with any luck I am. There we go. It does have a fitting on the end of it as well. And it is not obstructed currently. It does have a gasket, so it does have a flanged head on it. That's the difference between the actual jet. Okay, we'll get these parts soaking for a day or two, then we'll reassemble. Get back with you. So I got everything cleaned up, dried off, ran compressed air through everything, all the orifices. We are ready to go back together. The carb kit came with 2 Welch plugs of the same size. Not entirely sure why, because this carburetor only has 1. But just because of the age of it and not knowing how rotten it may or may not have been, I went ahead and pounded that one out. And I figured I'd use my new one. So I'm just going to take a little bit of silicone and run it around the edge of that hole here. Don't want a metric ton of it because the choke shaft goes in there and it has to be able to rotate. But we do want a good seal. I'm actually going to take a pick. Get any of that excess out. All right. Get her leveled up-ish. Notice the change in tone. She's seated. Alrighty. And I mean, it's air going through there. It's not as long as you have a silicone that's going to be okay with fuel being in contact with it. It doesn't really matter what variety it is. Which, I don't know if whatever this is or not, but it's not a super crucial component. So I'm not really concerned. So from there, let's go ahead and put our choke plate and choke shaft in there. So on the other side there, I have a new seal to install. Question being, which way does that lip face? The lip faced in. That's not going to block anything from coming in. That's going to block it from coming out. What you're trying to keep contaminants out, so I'm going to say the lip needs to be facing outwards. Push it in a little too far. Just walk it in. Yep. Grab a screwdriver. Again, little tiny screws like this in carburetors, magnetic headed screwdrivers are the hot ticket. Well, till their magnetism is lost, I suppose. Or it's a alloy that's not steel. Or sorry, non-ferrous. Don't want to upset any of your YouTube police out there. Incorrect terms. Well, what happened? There. Stay there. Choked, choke off. Beautiful. Go ahead and find our new gasket for our emulsion tube. Emulsion? I don't know. However, well, did they not give us a new one? Nope. Okay. Fantastic. These aluminum ones? That's a negative. So our old one will go back on. I am going to blow out the emulsion tube. Sure it's nice and clean. Snug it up. Now we have a jet. Should go right there. Let's blow that out. Now these being brass can be frustrating. Trying to get them back in their home. Starting to wonder if that one does go in there. We'll switch gears here and move to the top portion of the carburetor. I went ahead off camera and got the new throttle shaft seals in. These are not a terrific time. Rolling them in after you have these metal plates swaged on the outside, not great. How these were originally put together, they would have put the seal in, just dropped it in, swaged that plate over the outside. Rolling it in behind that, not the easiest, but it is doable. So we're going to compare our replacement needle and seat to our old one, and if all is good, we will spit swap on those. Appears to be the same depth. Same orifice size or similar. Looks like it's probably the same thread pitch. Well, the problem with our needle though is how it's held. And I don't see how they expect that to work even in their kit. So we will be reusing our old needle. Luckily it's a rubber tipped needle, still pliable. Naturally it does not fit in that bore, so we will be not using that new seat either. See if our gasket at least is the same. Probably not. If I can get it off of there. Actually, it looks like that just may work. Let's grab a bigger screwdriver. Yes, that'll work. Go ahead and blow the seat out. Never be too careful. Any little contamination in the carburetor. See, I don't even like how that washer fits actually. It's a little loose. I'm not using it. Put the old one back on. Should seal up. It's a problem with all these Chinese kits you buy for some of these carburetors. A lot of the gaskets, they don't even fit the model. I don't know what the hell they do fit, but they don't fit the model you order them for. But as long as we have crucial components like our new gasket for our carburetor halves, that's truly what I'm concerned with. If we have some other components in there that fit, great. So we'll snug down that seat. Give her a little. Our seat will drop in like so. Where are we at? I do believe my new floats will actually fit. So that thingy thing will drop in like so. Gasket will lay down nicely. Our new floats will go on some sort of ways. Now I gotta wonder if that would work. I totally misread how that needle and seat work with these floats. I thought it hooked to the needle, it does not. See what's going on here? I don't know if you're in the camera view. Let's take that back out. I think our new one may actually work then. And if I can put a new one in there, I'm gonna do it. Shiny new brass, you know? Oh, maybe? Or is it the wrong thread pitch? Man, it sure looks to be the right pitch. Feels tight though. We're not going to run that. Not worth destroying my carburetor. Put the old one back in. At least we'll get a new float. Our old needle. New float. How about our float shaft? Slightly shorter. Looks to be the same diameter. Let's try it out. Fits ships, or so they say. It's gonna work. Okay, back to the bowl section. We have another small jet. Gonna blow it out. Naturally, our kit does not have the correct gasket. That one's going to drop down in here. And we'll run that into a stop. Snug it. Okay. You then have this plug that'll go in there. I don't like how much crud is in that. Got some rust scale, but I suppose it's not going anywhere, and I don't. I'm gonna actually clean that out. I'm gonna go ahead and go over to my garage and take some bore brushes, rifle bore brushes, maybe like a 22 caliber bore brush, and try to clean up some of that rust scale. So I'll get back with you. I got the majority of that rust scale out of there using a bore brush. Good as it's gonna get. It'll work. Got a new gasket on there. Actually had one in the kit that did fit. Thread that back in now. Take our 1/2 inch wrench that's not fitting here. We'll snug that fitting up. All right. So on this side, we will have our pipe plug that goes in. Oh, easy there, little feller. Don't want to lose that. Oh, come on. Let's try that again, huh? All right, back together. At this point, we can put our two halves together. Or at least in theory, there we go. Got our 4 big screws here. And before I actually tighten these down, I'm going to go ahead and put the throttle shaft in just to be sure I don't have to take this back apart for anything to do with that. But they're snugged up. That looks good. How about our air bleed screw? Nowhere near remotely close. So the old one goes back in. We'll set this to 1 turn off of its stop. So that's at stop, half turn, 1 turn. Maybe a little more, right there. All right. Now for our throttle shaft. One thing probably worth mentioning, the end of the shaft, when I pulled it out, was real rusty. It's a smart idea to go ahead and wire wheel that before you wipe your new seals out. I'm actually going to get some grease to slide through these new seals, and I'm going to have to go back to the footage and check orientation of the shaft. So I'll be back with you. Well, I ended up finishing this thing up off camera. I just put the linkage on without you guys. If you need to figure out how to go about doing that, just refer to disassembly at the beginning of the video. But pretty straightforward, simple stuff. Throttle shaft's in, throttle plate's in, it works great. Choke linkage, to set that, what I do is I will run the choke all the way to its open stop. I will install your choke lever with the spring just the tiniest bit of tension on it, then run that nut down and tighten it. That way, when you go full choke, it's under full spring tension. So it naturally wants to go back to no choke. So in the event, the theory here, I suppose, is in the event of a choke cable failure, if that choke cable were to break and say you were choked, well, it's not going to prevent you from running because it's going to spring back open. So there you have it in a nutshell. How to go about rebuilding a Zenith single barrel. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.